Hello, guys. Welcome back to Talk Therapy. We have a very exciting episode today because we have our first official guest of the pod with us, and it is none other than our Miss Tori Story.
I feel so honoured.
Honestly, one of my favourite humans in the world. No, it's true. To paint a bit of a picture, guys, I'm recording here at Tori's today, and I was like, I'm bringing my PJs. I've brought my skincare. I've brought my activewear in case we went for a walk, but not sure about it. And just like really setting up shop for the rest of the day. It's 1 p.m.
Because I'm also cooking you guys dinner tonight.
Yeah, and we're having dinner at Mama Tor's.
Yeah.
So
the chicken's in the slow cooker.
What is it?
I'm doing the noodle dish. Oh. So you know how I had it at the retreat?
Yes.
I'm going to test it out. So hopefully it's good.
No,
it's my first time.
And like cooking for a big group of people.
Scary.
How many of us?
6.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like this is not the episode today, guys. We're talking about something really like much more deep than this, but let's have a little chat. I feel like when it comes to hosting, I've never really hosted for more than like 4 people.
Yeah, I don't really neither.
How do people do it?
And I've always like, if I have, it's like we've ordered food or got a caterer or something.
Yeah, like we need to learn this stuff.
Yeah, because we've got kids on the way.
We're with child, not me. Tori Story. But that does kind of bring us into today's episode. So if you guys don't know or follow Tori Story, you absolutely need to. She is probably the rawest, realest person on the internet. And I feel like you really have been since day dot. Ever since, I feel like I followed you maybe 4 years ago, maybe when you got your new account, I think.
Yes.
When did your account go down, your last account?
2022, when I, like literally within the first month of me moving to the Gold Coast.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then I hired you as a coach.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. We need to have another podcast episode that's just like our story. Because we're so similar.
We are.
So similar. And like content, socials, all the things. But yeah, if you don't already follow Tori, I will plug her straight away because honestly, the realest person online. And that's really what kind of prompted today's conversation for me because Tori is how many weeks pregnant now? 29 weeks pregnant.
Yep.
With their absolute miracle baby boy.
Yep.
And I want to talk about her journey with that and also have Tori share her journey in conceiving after having been diagnosed with PCOS, a whole multitude of, I guess, like fertility conversations, things, all the things with professionals, and really you being the exception to every single rule in this instance and sharing your journey because I think it is something that not enough people talk about when it comes to, conceiving, starting a family, the fear that is presented with that, especially in women's health, and also I guess the uncertainty around what to expect, or not so much just the uncertainty but also the fear, I guess. Like I've already said fear, but like the fear that comes with just there's no clear path, there's no clear answer, there's no right or wrong, there's no 100% certainty in anything, but there a lot of the time is opinions that can taint your belief in what's possible for you and your body, I guess. And I do want to start this episode by having a little bit of a disclaimer that we are going to be speaking about conception, pregnancy, and I know that for so many people that is something that is not the easiest path. It's probably potentially the hardest thing that you guys, if you are navigating a trying to conceive journey and it isn't happening for you just yet, that can be really, really challenging. And I am sending you so much love. And I just want to say, if this isn't the episode for you to listen to today, revisit it, come back. But I think it is going to be a really healing episode for a lot of people and a very comforting episode for a lot of people who potentially do have a lot of fear around what their journey might look like or who are even navigating that for themselves right now. So I want to hand it over to you and just have you give me a little bit of a synopsis on like your journey, because if you don't know, Tori has been an elite athlete in acro for majority of your life other than a few years here and there due to injury and then retiring for a hot sec before circling back. And your body has always been under high stress in that, not bad, but high stress, and then a whole other multitude of things. I would love for you to just share your story with like your body and your all the things.
Everything.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try and actually make it a synopsis and not take 40 minutes. But yeah, essentially like Christina said, I was an elite acrobat for like since I was 7 and worked my way up the ranks to the highest level. Now I've done a junior world championships and 2 World Cup silver medals at the highest level, and just grew up and devoted my whole life, basically left school for it. And obviously being an elite athlete takes a toll on the body, and I would say I'm quite injury prone thanks to my parents. So navigating lots of different injuries across the road. But each injury and a setback was just like, hey, like, how much do you want this? And it was never a question of like, is it time to stop? It was more of like, how can we move past and get stronger? Which has then brought me so much in life outside of sport. But I would say it was probably 2016 when things started to get serious, where I was like, right, we really want to aim for world championships. Again, so many setbacks, but we were lucky enough to qualify for the 2018 World Champs in Belgium. And that was like a big push for me because I was dealing with a back injury at the time. So I found out I had stress fractures in my back and a tear in my hip. Like, actually, sorry, that was after the Worlds, but I had the pain prior, but no MRI or scans were coming up with any, like, what's the word?
Answers.
That's
kind of a theme for today's episode,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I was just training through the pain because my scans were showing nothing and everyone was like, well, you just keep going. And so I did. It was post-Worlds. I went through a breakup with my ex who we were together for like 6 years and like, you know, childhood sweethearts, did acro together, kind of just grew up together as well. So going through a breakup at 18 and then coming here from Worlds, I was 18 and I was like, I've never really like partied much or like I went out a few times, barely, because I turned 18 like not long before Worlds. So I just was like everything for Worlds. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go have some fun. We had some downtime from training. And I just kind of got mixed in the wrong crowd. And there was one night we went out with my cousins and just like overdid it. And basically woke up like the next day so unwell. Like the whole next week I was so unwell and just kept getting worse. I get like hives all over my body. And I just like what was going on, wasn't really sure. And so ended up at the doctors with antibiotics and then got way worse after that. Wow. Got rushed to hospital and my appendix was like rupturing. So they were like, hey, we're going to take you in for surgery, have your appendix removed. And I also got diagnosed with glandular fever and tonsillitis that same. Glandular fever, tonsillitis, appendicitis in the same weekend. And at this point, I was also had been on the pill for 2 years. Now, I went on the pill initially because I got my period at 16, but spotted for like 3 months, 3 months straight. And of course, the doctors were like, oh, just go straight on the pill. And yes, I was in a relationship, but it was more so like I can't be spotting random periods when I'm wearing leotards and like not knowing what's going on. So I wanted a bit more control around that. And my mum didn't know any different. And the doctor was like, yep, here you go. So we didn't question it. It was just kind of went straight on it. So I was on the pill for 2 years, never had an issue on the pill. But that weekend I had my appendix removed at the hospital. My ex and I were broken up, but prior to that, he was actually really supportive, being like, you should probably give your body a break from the pill. And his mum was like quite holistic as well. So that weekend of my surgery, I was like, right, I'm going off the pill. And from that surgery, when I say things spiraled. And I honestly probably would say that the pill ruined my life at that point. So coming off the pill plus that surgery, and your appendix surgery can be quite intense. And I've also had very bad reactions to anesthesia in the past with my shoulder surgery. So luckily they changed the anesthesia so I didn't wake up vomiting. But from that surgery and having time off, I gained 10 or 12 kilos in like 8 weeks of being bed rest. And I was like so depressed and couldn't train. My parents went away, so my brother and my cousin were looking after me. But then it was like 2 boys were looking after me. We were doing like homemade cold rock every night. Like I was eating next to nothing / whatever I was eating was bad because I couldn't really go to the shops because I was recovering from this like abdominal surgery. And so things just like spiraled. And then my skin started to break out. And that's when I was like, what's going on? And so it was like 8-10 weeks later and I look in the mirror and I'm like, who is this person? I've gone from the leanest I'd ever been at World Champs, like not many months before, to this version of myself that I couldn't even recognize. And I had to walk back into the gym to get back into training when I was ready to start rehabbing. And I was like, I can't walk in there. Like I'm the role model of the gym and now I'm about to walk in like out of shape, skin's broken out, like don't even know who I am, injured. So that was like terrifying, and that kind of, I didn't really have a choice but to kind of get back into the gym because we had sights set on the World Cup for the following year. So I guess I just went back in and plodded along, and that was kind of from then, I would say mid 2018 to the end, was trying to get answers of like why I had gained so much weight, why my skin was breaking out. Once I went off the pill, I didn't get a period for a year. So it was just questions after questions, doctor after doctor, and for like 6 months. And I spent obviously a lot of time seeing doctors, but then we discovered that our new goal was the World Cup, which was early 2019. So I was like, I had a goal to work towards again. So I felt like some sort of self-worth came back in terms of like, okay, I want to work towards this. But with that as well came, I need to get back into shape because I get judged on our appearance and how we look on the floor and all that sort of stuff. So that kind of led into, I wouldn't say like intense like binge eating, but some form of, and just a very toxic relationship with food, myself, my body, my mind. Like it all just kind of collapsed into like one little box. And that whole next year of like working towards the World Cup was just like, get through basically. Like I'm trying to find answers, but also I'm just trying to train and get to the World Cup, which we did. There was an instance before the World Cup where I collapsed like 2 weeks before, I think, because I was not eating and drinking enough. So I collapsed at training. So then I was like being monitored on like what I was eating and making my parents like make sure I was eating and drinking enough. We got through the World Cup, and I also had then also, obviously, like I mentioned, found out I had back fracture and a tear in my hip. And it was at that point, I think it was January 2019, and the World Cup was maybe March, I think. So I think we were 6 weeks out, and that's when I found this like very good women's health doctor in the city in Melbourne. And I basically went in there and I said, this is the last year of what's been happening from getting my periods, going on the pill, to coming off, to the appendix surgery and everything that happened from that. And she was like, right, I think you have fractures in your back from overtraining. I think you've got a tear in your hip. And I think from the sounds of it, you've got PCOS. And I was like, cool. That sounds like a lot of things that I don't want to deal with. And so I got sent off for scans immediately. And because we were so close to the World Cup, my coach was like, we need results so we can work out a plan. And so basically went straight it down, MRIs, internal ultrasounds, like literally everything. And I remember getting my ultrasound, like my first ever internal ultrasound at like 18. Oh. And I'm just sitting there, and luckily I had a female, and she's doing my scan, and she's like, yeah, well, like I can definitely see a lot of cysts within your ovaries. And I just vividly remember looking at her and being like, can I have kids? Like I'm sitting there 18, single, like nowhere near having kids. Yeah. But I just was like, can I have kids? Like what does this mean? And obviously being the sonographer, they can't give you, so much information or a diagnosis. And she was like, look, I don't know what this means, but, you've got a good team and we'll figure it out kind of thing. And so the next week I went back to that women's health sports doctor, and everything she had said was right. So basically I was diagnosed with PCOS, and I had 35 cysts on one ovary and 25 on the other ovary. And sure enough, stress fractures in my lower left side of my back and a tear in my hip. And I've just sat there with my mum like, so I'm 6 weeks out from my first ever World Cup. Like, what does one do? Yeah. I've trained a year with this back pain and like finally have an answer. Great, but like I can get through. And essentially her feedback was like, okay, you need to go see a gynecologist, probably get surgery, remove the cysts, although they like probably high chance of growing back. Obviously work on the health, and then you need to rehab your injuries. You shouldn't compete. And I was like, yeah, okay. So now you're ripping everything away from me. And of course, my coaches wanting me to go. We were like second opinion, third opinion. So I went to like high level sports doctors, and every single one told me not to compete in 6 weeks. I was at risk of not walking again, not having kids again because of my back injury and where my health was at. So obviously that was terrifying to hear at 18 when you're kind of like hitting your prime in a sense in my sport, and you're like, well, what now? My parents were obviously on the doctor's side of like, we need to fix you basically. Whereas me and my coaches were like, how can we make this work? And me being the stubborn person I am, someone will say jump, I'll say how high. Like if you're going to tell me no, I'll figure out a way to make it work if that's what I want. And something in me just was like, you've gone this far. Like you can do 6 more weeks. Let's monitor your training. We dropped back some skills just to get through and like experience this, because we were the only group from Australia that qualified that year for the World Cup. So I just wanted to make it work. So we did, and we got over there, and it was in Las Vegas, and it was rough. I ended up getting bronchitis over there. Like it was a lot. But we came out with a silver medal, and like coming off that stage, like at the end and seeing our score was like so worth it. And I know a lot of people are like, why would you ever risk that? But like something just inside me was like, you can do it. So coming home from that comp was like, okay, now I need to, and I got so sick after that comp. Like there was no training for me. And so I took a good 3 months of very, very minimal training to try and rest my back. And then I got to a point where I was so depressed and my anxiety and depression was through the roof. And I was like, I need to sort this out. So I made the decision to step back from the sport, which was the hardest decision ever because it's what I've devoted my life to for that, my whole life basically. But it was the decision that I needed to make. But no one really knew how bad I was struggling and more so mentally. My mum kind of figured it out because I would say things like my ex and I were kind of on and off chatting because I feel like you get so close to someone you can tell them. There was quite a lot of suicidal ideation, which then he would then tell my mum. So then mum kind of found out, but no one else really knew until, years later. And I was able to open up about it. But at that time, mental health wasn't really spoken about. Again, PCOS, I had no idea what it was. So it's just really trying to figure out these answers. And then for that next 6 to 12 months, I was so lost of who I am, what I'm doing. I left school, I didn't study because acro was my life, whether I was going to be an athlete or a coach, that was it. So there's a good 6 to 8 months of an absolute blur. Couldn't tell you what I did, where I was, do not remember. Until start of 2020, I'm really just giving you the whole
No, please.
spill.
I'm keep going. I'm trying not to make a sound because I don't want to interrupt.
But from 2020, I got offered a job in Hobart, so random, but I was fresh start, let's go. So moved over there for I think it was 2 months before COVID hit and everything got shut down, got sent home. Wasn't allowed home because my mum's ex-partner was we didn't get along well and that was the whole thing. But it was just a lot, one after another. So I moved in with my auntie and it was just I never got answers of what was going on. Obviously I got the diagnosis of PCOS, but then it's okay, well now you just have to figure it out. And there's no cure for PCOS. It's I remember the first thing she said to me is treatable, but it's not curable. I was cool. So I'm stuck with this forever. And obviously I started learning about it and I was okay, PCOS is linked to infertility and my goal in life is to be a mum. So what needs to happen for me to make that happen? What do I do? So I spent a good, I think the initial lockdown was me just kind of trying to figure out, then it got toxic. It was juice cleanses. It was trying to lose weight because I knew that being overweight wasn't healthy either. And just eating next to nothing. And so then I met my partner, Jackson. And I say it a lot, probably too much, but he did save my life. And we met through TikTok, spoke online for 2 months, and then I made the move to Adelaide mid-COVID lockdown. And just the way he took me in, took me under his wing and yes, we started dating and that happened, but also as a coach, he kind of took me in and was you're eating next to nothing. The calories were ridiculous. And he just was right, this is what we're doing. You're going to eat more. You're going to train less. We're going to calm your nervous system down. His mum is also very holistic and was into celery juice and all this. So between his mum, my mum and him, they're all we've got you. And so I moved to Adelaide July 2020 and the next 6 to 12 months I just went honed in on my health. I lost probably 12 kilos in 12 months with working with Jackson. Back when he was in his PT
bring
days.
It back.
And so just went ham on calming things down because I've been at such a high stress state for so long. And then I started a business and I was teaching dance and acrobatics and strength and conditioning, working in with mindset. And then my business took off in Adelaide. I got to such a better, healthy place. My skin started to clear up. And things just started to evolve, and it was so fucking hard because that many times I wanted to give in and take Roaccutane, and every doctor was just go on Roaccutane, your skin will be cleared. But I had such a strong vision of my goal is to have a kid, and have a family. So I'm not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize that. I had so many down days where I was no, that's it. I'm going on Roaccutane. And whether I did or I didn't, Jackson was going to support me because at the end of the day, it was ruining my mental health. But we'd always just come back to what's the goal at the end of the day. We can heal this naturally. And so initially, 12 months of having celery juice every single day, I got to somewhat clear skin, insanely different, lost 12 kilos, and then I ended up getting a scan 12 months later and I had about 3 cysts on my ovaries. So I went down from like 70 cysts to 3.
Wow.
And I took no medication. I was just working on whole foods. I did actually go vegan because Jackson was vegan. And I think just going to whole foods helped so much and being so like in tune with that, and then slowly introduced meat again. And just being like so health focused, which I hadn't for so long. And then the move to the Gold Coast was a business move, and we knew eventually we wanted to move up here. And so since then, which was 2022, I've just been every year getting further and further into my health journey, and the skin's been an up and down roller coaster. The gut health has been, I feel like I nearly could say I nailed my gut health. And that only I could say up till last year. Like 2025, I felt like was the year the first year my skin was consistently clear. My gut health was consistently good in terms of not flaring up when I had gluten or dairy, or I know when I'd have too much of certain things, but I could handle it. And so 2025 was the year I was like, I've done it. I feel like I've done it. And like, it was also the year that I returned to acro after 6 years off to finish that goal, because again, it was something I was like, I want to finish this before I have kids. But I was like, I'm returning to a high stress environment. Is my skin going to break out? How are my periods going to go? The one thing I still haven't nailed was irregular periods.
Yeah.
So very much like a 70-day cycle, and then a 40-day, and then a 20-day, and then an 80-day cycle. Like, it was very inconsistent. And I still didn't nail it, but felt pregnant.
Yeah, that's just like, this story is like maybe one of my favorite ever.
Yeah. And I think like I put so much work in to my health, but at the end of the day, I still didn't have regular periods. So I assumed that was meaning I didn't ovulate. Yep. I could never guess when my periods were coming. Yep. Like, that was the one thing I hadn't nailed, and I was still working on with my naturopath. Do you want me to go into the pregnancy?
Let's know. I'm like, there's so much that I'm just like, this.
Yeah,
like,
you go.
No, like, please, because we're going to circle back into that, because this story, guys, hang around for it. But here's the thing, right? So much of what you just said is like, so many of my favorite things about you wrapped into how, like, you know, however many years of your life, 10 years of your life. And I think there's so many avenues that we could talk about in this, and I'd love to have you on 1,000 different times, because there's something to be said for young athletes who create such an identity around this one thing and this one path, and then the level of resilience it actually takes to overcome retiring through injury, your whole life plan changing, and there being so much uncertainty in that. The fact that that was so real for you at like the most extreme level. Like, you've been training for this sport from 7 and then up until your late teens, right? Really? Or like early 20s as well. And that is just something that I love so much about you, is you always do make it work. And when I think to your story, it's like crazy to see you here and see the way that you lead yourself and how genuinely health focused you are. And I feel like when we moved up to the Gold Coast 2024, I think the end of that year, looking back even to you at the end of that year to where you were in 2025 and now this year, it's just like all those years of your work paid off. And what people see is you now, or you in 2025, or you falling pregnant. And it would be so easy to assume that, oh, well, like, good for her, must be nice because she's just healthy and like she's just got this. But when you hear your story, you had every odd against you. And I think that's just such a testament to you always being willing to, something I admire a lot in you is you're willing to fight for what you know is right for you, like at a core level, even if nothing makes sense. And that's been super, I guess, inspiring for me as well, in like advocating for my health with like endo and stuff, because we are so vulnerable in life when we do lack the knowledge or the education. And like you said, when you're getting diagnosed with PCOS, there isn't information out there around what that even is. How can you support it external of surgery or external of whatever? And we're not saying, you know, one's right or wrong, but you're just proof that if you focus on your actual health and getting to the bottom line of your nervous system, of your gut, of your mental health, of your training, eating enough, training less, like doing things that are going to support you, so much is possible. And that's what I really want people to hear in this, where there are so many options available to you, even if you feel like they're not. So I guess for you, like, when it came to your diagnosis and then being told, I guess not necessarily intentionally having fear placed upon you, but did you feel as though the support that you got was quite dead end in terms of this is what it is and this is what it's going to be for you? Or did you feel as though you were kind of given options to look outside of the box in terms of like your health and
Not
support?
at all.
Yeah.
I would say I got the diagnosis, this is your plan, get surgery, probably go on medication and call it a day.
Yeah.
And there was no education around what PCOS was. It was like, hey, you're diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome. This is your path. What if I don't want that to be my path? Like, what are my alternatives? And that's when you're then going to have to find integrated health professionals, which then costs an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
And then finding the right one that works for you as well. I had great support around me in terms of, you know, my parents and my family and my friends in that sense, but not in like the medical world, so to speak. And that was the reason I ended up sharing my story, because I was like, okay, well, I feel so alone in this. I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to share my story in hopes that it inspires someone. And I think that's when I just was so driven by the end goal. And every time I had a down day, you know, for my skin, there was a quick fix. There was Roaccutane. PCOS, there is no cure. There was no tablet. Like, you can go on metformin, which is a diabetic medication that treats PCOS, which I did go on for 3 months, and I was like, nah, throw it out. But there is no quick fix for PCOS. So either way, that was kind of going to be a long game, whereas the skin was like, yep, you can fix this tomorrow, essentially. But then again, with Roaccutane, it's like you could come off and your skin could break out again. Roaccutane also causes birth defects. Okay, that's affecting my long-term goal. Like, it always just came back to, this is my long-term goal, what aligns with it in this moment. And it was never the route of like medication and things like that.
Yeah. And I think that's huge too, right? Everyone's allowed to have their own journey in that. And I know so many girls I've even spoken to who say like the pill's the best thing that they ever did for themselves.
Even Roaccutane, so many people, like, I would put polls on my story once a week of being all right, give me the pros and the cons of Roaccutane. And I would have like 2 girls I know that are like best friends. One was like, it literally changed my life, went on it, my skin cleared up, never had a problem after coming off it. And then the next one was took it for however long, came off, broke out even worse after.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't know. And like, I say this to Soph all the time. I'm like, we could have gone on Roaccutane and it healed us in 12 months and we never had to deal with it again.
Yeah.
But we just weren't willing to take that risk.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? It's like, whatever decision you make, I think the point that we both are really passionate about is making sure that people just have information to make that decision. And for whatever side of the coin you're looking at, like, there's always a reason that will really benefit you. But at the end of the day, it is your body, right? And it's everyone's listening's body. And there's not one person in the world that knows your body more than you. And I know you say this a lot. And has that always been something that you've known, whether you had like the language for understanding that you knew that about yourself or not? Like, do you feel like you've always just known that you know best for you, or did you have seasons of questioning that?
I think from the moment of doctors telling me I couldn't compete, and me just having this voice inside my head being like, but you can. Like, you'll be fine. You'll get through it. It's going to be hard, but you'll be okay. And when someone's sitting there, multiple doctors telling you you may not walk again or have kids, like, that's huge. Like, that's your whole life. But I don't know, there was something in me that was like, well, you're going to do it and you can do it. And I think from that moment, I was like, well, at the end of the day, I know my body. And so I think that's just like led on into every other scenario going into skin and gut and PCOS.
It's just like, it's just crazy to even look at you and go, you really did all of that, you know? And like, you've really defied every single odd when it comes to your body and just like health. And
it's a good thing and a bad thing.
It is, yeah. And I would say you are someone, obviously I'm so blessed to know you so personally, where even now you could be just going absolutely through it and you'd never know, you know? And like, unless you really ask, and I think that is a superpower, but then equally it's like one of those things where you do like deserve to be supported in what's real for you. And it is hard growing up in the competitive world and then having coaches who do have your best interests at heart as an athlete. There is so much, I guess, did you find pressure around like what it meant about you if you weren't to compete, or if you were to listen to, you know, doctors and all these things, which again, no right or wrong, but it just is like, it's almost like, do you find that was a really big blessing that you did have that pressure on you, whether it was like self pressure or from the external world, like in your decision making?
Yeah. And I think Because like I said, we were the only group to make it from Australia to the World Cup. So having that pressure and like wanting to go out and do well, but then going through what I was going through, it was like, well, I could go and not do well at all or get sick and not even make it on the floor. But I think above all, like, yes, the pressure plays a role, but I wanted it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've always led by. And it's the same reason why I returned last year. Like our whole friendship group and my family, except for my dad, which is really surprising, said, you're so silly to go back to Melbourne. And like, you've built this amazing life. Why would you go back? And I was like, well, this is what I want to do. And I knew I'd regret it. So I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something, and it's even when I moved to the Gold Coast, like coming here was like mine and Jackson's long-term goal. It happened way faster than we thought. I got offered 2 jobs. We ended up doing long distance. And so it was like, no, we didn't want to do it, but I also wanted to move. And I think I've just always led by, if I want to do it, I'm going to do it. And the first thing I always ask myself is like, am I going to regret this in 2, 3, 4, 5 years? If it's a yes, then I'm doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what would you regret not doing, and then do that? And then also it's like, you can always change your mind.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's something that you lead really well with, is it may seem that deep and it can feel that deep, but it's really not. Even in moving to Melbourne, it's like, okay, well, if I hate this after 2 weeks, I actually can physically get on a plane, you know, and jump straight back over, and that's fine. So for anyone listening, that is a bit of a tangent, but like, you're just thinking about something, or you know it's for you, but there's every reason for you to not take the leap, or every opinion not to. At the end of the day, like,
what do you want?
What do you want? And life's going to move regardless, you know, and then like in 10 years time, you're going to be so glad that you just stayed where you are, because like your auntie told you that you were silly not to. Like, I just don't think, and you're just incredible for that, honestly. Like, it's the best. I think that's why we kind of really get along, and like our stories are just so
like, we're
similar.
We're going to do what we want to do.
Yeah, fully. Oh, there's so much I could say. But I guess from that point then, so you've gone back to Melbourne. 2025. I remember we had like a barbecue at my house for my birthday, and like Tori, we're all standing around the table, 12 of us, and we're all like, yeah, nah, like, you're just joking, right? She's like, oh,
like, flip a coin says no.
It said no, yeah, and you're like, okay, well,
Taylor's like, you cannot do this.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
And Lily was convinced I was like, she was telling people I wasn't going.
Yeah, everyone's like, Tori's just having a moment.
And then I'm like, hey, I'm moving on Monday.
In 2 weeks. Like,
it was fast
wheeling that
turnaround.
suitcase through that reel, and I'm like, well, I didn't even know she's off, but she's off. Oh, I love it. Okay, well, kind of where I want to go from there then is, let's talk about your conception journey. Let's talk about wrapping up Melbourne, what that experience felt like for you, but then coming home. What was your plan? Like, coming back to the Gold Coast, what was your plan? Like, what was that next season going to look like for you?
Good question. Melbourne, I wrapped up earlier than expected because I was meant to be there for just over 12 months, and then our worlds got pushed back. And so I really had to sit down with myself. And I will, like, you know, I say I do things for myself, but I did struggle going to Melbourne. How many times did I message or call or cry, being like, I built the most incredible life on the Gold Coast, and I've just not walked away from it, but, you know, I've had to sacrifice for this short period to fulfill a goal that I've always wanted to do. And there were so many moments of like, not is it worth it, but like, fuck, what have I done? Like, I miss my friends and my family, whatever. And I was grateful enough to live with my coach, who has been my coach since I was 7. And she was like my second mum. So to move in with her and her kids, who are like my sisters and my brother, was just like the biggest blessing and very healing. But there were so many moments. And then worlds got pushed back. And that's when I had to sit down and go, okay, can I stay another 12 months? Like, it was going to look like nearly 2 years. It was going to be from Feb 2025 to September 2026. So I'd still be there now. And so I ended up making the call after our last 2 World Cups of being like, okay, I think this is, and it all just somehow worked out. Like, the reason I got this opportunity was because a girl got injured and I went in to replace her at a very high level. And I don't want to say this in like a cocky way, but like, I have been at that level. I know what it takes to get there. And so it's kind of like a rare opportunity / person to just be able to jump back in. Like, I surprised myself. Like, I knew I was a good athlete, a good acrobat, but I also surprised myself.
That was crazy. I was like, wait a minute, why are you upside down like that?
The muscle memory, like, my coaches were shocked. And like, you know, I said I was so injury prone the whole year. I had one little shoulder niggle that I dealt with the whole year. Like, it was just manageable, but nothing. Like I just, anyway, that's a whole other thing. But I did make the decision to kind of cut it short. But the girl who I replaced had gone through her injury and shoulder surgeries too.
Wow.
And rehabbed so well that she was ready to jump back in as I finished up at Nationals September 2025, which happened to be on the Gold Coast. So it was really cool to finish my last comp ever on the Gold Coast, having my friends watch and just like say goodbye to the sport. And I never knew how I was going to feel. Like I thought I just would never feel finished. Like I love the sport so much. I would go back tomorrow if I could. But I sat there at awards and I just remember feeling so content. And I was like, I have done it. Little did I know in that moment I was pregnant.
True.
Yeah. I would have been a week pregnant.
I forget.
Yeah.
You're flipping up in the air, like doing all these flips and stuff. And you're like, hold on a minute.
Hold on a minute. Little sesame in there is rolling around. So basically I came back up to the Gold Coast and like essentially moved up. And it was a week before comp because we come up and train beforehand. And it's going to go TMI, but like you guys need to hear. Yeah. So essentially I'm not on any contraception and I haven't been for years. Now our method is the pull-out method, which is very popular.
Yeah, I mean,
and there was just one time that we just decided to have some fun.
Why not?
And I fully was just like, I don't think I ovulate. Like I can't track my periods. I can't track my temperature. You just can't do it. And so this one night we just didn't use the pull-out method. I did message the group chat, our girl chat the next day saying like, hey, asking for a friend, should I take the morning after pill? And I was also very well aware how much that can stuff up your hormones. So I didn't really want to take that either. And I was like, I have literally every odd against me. Like I was diagnosed with PCOS. I haven't had a period since I think July was my last period last year. So I was just like, we'll be fine.
Yeah, all good.
We'll be fine. So, go on about life. I compete. We have Soap's wedding. Yeah. We had Jackson's best and fairest. We wrapped up his footy season. And it was just like back-to-back events. I just moved home. Like amazing. I was so excited. And I guess the goal for moving home was to really go ham on business and the podcast and I guess my social media as well. And just kind of see where life then goes. I was just happy to like be back on the coast. And our plan for kids was probably another 2 to 3 years. Was waiting for a ring and a marriage and a wedding first. And so it was after all those events like calmed down and I was like so wrecked. But I was like, of course, like I've just moved back home, competed, coming off 9 months of like intense training that I haven't done for 6 years. Of course you're going to be tired.
We're packing for America.
Yeah, we were packing for America. And it was just like naps in the middle of the day. And then I started craving random things. And I'm like, oh, this is bizarre. And I wasn't like, oh, my period's late because like, well, don't have one. And we'd also just found out that our 2 best friends were pregnant, one after another. And that's when I was like, well, it can't be a third. Like that just is wild scenes. Anyway, so I was like, you know what, let's just go to a test. And I think I'd just spoken to Riley, who was like recently found out she was pregnant, being like, oh, like I've been feeling these symptoms, but it was also period symptoms. And that's like the hard thing with like pregnancy and period. They are pretty similar. So I was like, well, let's just go get a test. So Jackson and I went out and did a pregnancy test and those 2 lines came up really strong and just gobsmacked. Like if you've seen the video, you know, just utter shock because I guess not my whole life, but since I was diagnosed at 18 or even since getting my period at 16, I was kind of like, what does fertility look like for me? And it's always been something that I've worked towards. Like that's always been the goal is to have kids. And so to see those 2 lines, like all I want in life is to be a mum and have kids and have a family. But also when you're not expecting it, it is like those 3 minutes of my life of waiting for the lines was just one thing.
Yeah.
But then seeing the lines, because I think I've done maybe like 2 or 3 in the past of like, it's physically not possible for me to pregnant because, I don't know, we're using a condom, whatever.
But I'll just check for fun.
I'll just check for fun because I have some symptoms. Yeah. It was just my period.
Yeah.
And you kind of know that it's going to be negative. But there was something in me like my intuition was kind of like this is maybe it.
Sesame is here.
And yeah, it was the most like shocked I've ever felt in my entire life. And we went and did 5 more tests to make sure. And then we did the test and we were leaving 2 days later for America.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And we did the one of like how many weeks you are, and it was like 1 to 2. So I was very early. And it was just wild. Like it still doesn't make sense as to how I felt pregnant.
No. I would love to talk about that for a moment to normalize, because I think you share this so beautifully online as well. And again, we are so aware of everyone's circumstance when it comes to conceiving is so different, and there can be so much heartbreak that goes into that. And so I never want to, have anyone feel as though this conversation is insensitive to that, and we're always sending so much love. But I think there can be a lot of guilt wrapped up for people like yourself who even throughout your pregnancy, like you haven't had an incredible experience, you found out, and whilst it is, the biggest blessing for you, there's also allowed to be parts of you that does have so much fear around that, and the uncertainty of that chapter and it not being the timeline, and, even navigating that with Jackson for the first time, because it is him as well, and it's like, it's him and you and it's your family. And just whilst there's never a question that you're not going to love this baby and that you're not going to bring this baby in and give him the most incredible life, there's also duality in that experience. So can you speak about that for you? And I guess like how you felt this pregnancy, and, the courage that it has taken, I guess, for you to be so real about that. Because I know so many people have related to being like, I have not loved pregnancy how I thought I was going to. And it was a surprise, and I'm not going to get on the internet and, you don't have this video where you're both like, yes, like we were waiting for this, and like, it's perfect because everyone's journey is their own, but people can have so much to say in that. What has that looked like for you?
It's been a whirlwind. Honestly, like we found out, again, it was like 1 to 2 weeks. We went over to America. We had our own troubles in America with like our time frame and sleeping.
Yeah.
And that was a whole thing.
That was a whole thing.
But honestly, instantly there was fear around just pregnancy as a whole. Yeah. I feel so confident in having a newborn and having a baby because I've grown up. I've got 3 little brothers. I've grown up around babies like pretty much my whole life. I've taught babies. Like I feel so confident in that. Pregnancy, I feel like I hit this stage and I was like, wait, I have so many questions. No one talks about this. No one talks about that. What symptoms is this? Like terrified. And obviously as soon as you find out, then you go and get your blood tests. And I did that, but then we were at the airport in like LA and I'm trying to get my blood test results to see if my HCG was rising. And then I got the results and they were skyrocketing. I was like, perfect. But then my naturopath was like, we'll check again in like a week or 2 to make sure they continue to rise. So then I had all this fear around that and went to the doctor in New York because I was like, I'm mentally like need some clarification that, this pregnancy is going through because it was one thing to fall pregnant at an absolute miracle, but then another thing to stay pregnant. Like I didn't know if because of my PCOS that was a problem, like so many questions. And then the day we were leaving America was when I got really sick. I think I hit 6 weeks, maybe it was 5 weeks when we left America and threw up the whole way home. Like it was awful. And then probably from whatever it was, 5 or 6 weeks till about 16 weeks, I was on the couch vomiting. I lost 6 kilos. I had a hospital visit and then I had nurses come and give me the drip to keep fluids down and couldn't really eat, couldn't really drink. Like it was pretty awful. The only reason I knew that was a thing called acid reflux called HG is because my coach had it with all 4 of her pregnancies. Wow. So I witnessed her pregnancies where she would come to the gym and coach. She would leave the room 20, 30 times a session to go and vomit and come back. And so I was very aware of like what HG was. But to experience it is one thing. And I just felt like growing up, I was like, I can't wait to be pregnant. Like I'm, going to glow and I'm going to eat as well as I can and train as much as I can and be that pregnant girl. And I just wasn't that. And then also going from 25 to 30 hours a week of training to absolutely nothing for 4 months was like so hard. And that was another thing. Then my body started to react in a way like my lower back pain was really bad because my physio was like, you've gone from 100% to nothing. Now your body's like, how do we work? And then you're growing a human. So your balance is changing, like your body's changing so much. So I was navigating that. And I just felt none of this was talked about. And like how grateful I am to be pregnant. Like, this baby is a miracle, but it shouldn't take away from the experience that I'm having. And so I felt really called to speak to it online, and I'm an open book. Like, I've shared everything from day one, and I always speak to my experience. You know, I'm not telling everyone to do anything. I'm like, this is what I'm navigating. And the response has been insane. Like, so many DMs daily just being like, thank you for being so real in this pregnancy, and just sharing that it isn't glamorous, because you see it in the movies, you see it online, that like pregnancy is just glamorous, and it's really not. And to be honest, I've hated 95% of it. The only thing that I love is feeling him in my belly every single day. It's just like the most beautiful thing I've ever felt in the world. But other than that, like the HG, the vomiting, the food aversions, like I'm so hungry all the time. I never want to eat anything. Like, I just don't feel like it. The acid reflux is a whole thing. And I'm like, just give me my baby, like get my baby in my arms. But I also am so grateful for my community that I've built, who are so like open to just like, I'm just allowed to share it.
Yeah.
And it has had such a good response, because I know, and that's the thing, when I shared my PCOS and my skin, I shared it because I knew I'm not the only one going through it.
Yeah.
And that's what made me share this time, was like, I'm not the only person going through pregnancy, hating it, but so grateful to be pregnant, and like couldn't be more excited for this chapter of my life. Because if you've listened to my podcast or followed me on YouTube, like, you know how much I want kids. Like, you just know. So it's been kind of healing in the sense of like, I know it's helping a lot of other people. But then there's also people, you know, Riley's had an amazing pregnancy. Tay's had a pretty good pregnancy. Like, and someone put it in my question box, like, how have you gone with them having like great pregnancy? I'm like, great for them. Like, I'm happy for them. Like, I wouldn't want them to experience this. Like, it really did suck. And I'm still, you know, 10, 12 weeks out from baby boy's due date, but this has just been my journey. And I think after having the year that I had, like, I did need to slow down. And I think this was the universe being like, you're not going to unless we make you. So this is what you get. And I also think it's my body's way of preparing for this next chapter and softening, and getting ready for birth and labor as I start to learn more about that in hypnobirthing. But then also the slowness of what newborn phase will look like. I think this has prepared me for that as well.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. Like, it's actually just, and it's so crazy even to, you know, hear you say, you know, slowing down, and yes, you have, but then also you just haven't, because you are someone who, it's like that part of you that you're going to make it happen either way, but it just has been so much more challenging. And that's why it is so important for people like yourself and like anyone listening, like even I think to talk therapy, like the stories are what allows so much healing for other people as well in that, because not everyone has a platform, not everyone has a voice that they are comfortable in sharing their story in. So for you to be able to speak so openly, and yes, it's vulnerable, but like I feel like you've just got such a high tolerance to being able to share now, because it's just your truth. Like, you're not trying to be vulnerable, you're not trying to say anything. It's just like, this is what's real. I can't even imagine how many women have navigated pregnancy, whether even like yourself, they weren't sure that they could fall pregnant. So then you'll go, well, who am I to complain about pregnancy? Because all I've ever wanted is to be pregnant. Or I can assume there'd be so many thoughts like that would try and creep in around, like, well, who are you to complain because other people can't get pregnant?
So much.
Or, you know, and like just.
And I thought I would be that person.
Exactly.
Like, I thought it was either never going to happen, because that's what I was told, or it would take me a really long time.
Yeah.
So for it to happen on the first go literally doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Like, first time ever, guys, just like in, right?
Yeah.
In their whole relationship that they didn't do the method.
Yeah.
And she's pregnant.
Like, first time ever.
Like, what are we talking
together
about?
like this year will be 6 years.
And you're just like, one time, brother.
One time. So this child really wanted to join us.
Yeah.
But it was so hard, because I see people, you know, trying to conceive, and my heart just goes out to them. I watch journeys online, and I'm just like, oh, like I couldn't even imagine, because I thought that was going to be my journey. And for some reason it just hasn't been. And, you know, I'm grateful in the sense that I'm proud of myself that I've done the work, and I don't know, I guess like it paid off.
Yeah.
Because clearly I do ovulate, and I
pretty well,
you know, have obviously am fertile. Like, I just don't know.
Yeah.
But I just think everyone has their own journey, and I think if I can help someone in theirs, then I've done my job. Yeah.
And you absolutely have. And it's like, I feel anyone listening, if you listen back to everything that we've spoken about in your story and like how much adversity you have faced with your body and with injuries and with fear and with the unknown, and then still being someone that has chosen to look for alternative paths for yourself and more holistic paths. And again, not discrediting that there aren't really beautiful things that can support you from more like a medical lens, but also just like you said, it having paid off now where years and years, like not a week of, you know, cleaning up your diet or a week of XYZ, but it's like years and years and years. And on the days where again, like you just wanted to take the easy path, but you just came back to remembering your why, it does take so much resilience. And I don't believe like everyone can do that. Not that they're not capable of doing that, but it's so, so challenging. And so it's like you really were just, without realizing it, preparing your body for the best chapter of your life. And you're like, yeah, we did do that. But like, was it the plan? No. But was it the plan? Yes. You know?
And that's what we both, like, the day we found out, we were both just like, well, the universe, God has a plan for us and this is it. And Jackson's very much a very realistic, planned out person. Like from the day we met, I remember I was over in Perth and I was standing in my dad's kitchen and I think we were maybe a year into our relationship and Jackson's like, I want this amount of money in our bank for our kids. Like he has always been driven by wanting to provide for us as a family, but like the best life for our kids. And he's always been the person of like, not yet, not yet, not yet. And I think this lesson for him is like, it's never the right time. Like you just figure it out. And then it's like, okay, well, then we fall pregnant and we decide to lease a warehouse and build a podcast studio that we have afforded, but it's cost way more in the same year that we're having a kid. But it's just like you make it work. And, you know, there's so many lessons in everything in life. And I think the biggest thing I focus on with quote unquote failures is like it's never a failure, it's just a lesson. And I look forward to failing because I'm like, well, what lesson am I learning? And just keep going.
Yeah. Dude, I could like have you on to talk about so many things. In my head, I'm like, all right, note for this podcast and note for this, because it was just,
I know there's so many different like.
I just love your brain and like how you see things. And I think that's it too, where, you know, just again, another random tangent, but you hear people say like, having a child is the best thing that you can do as an ambitious person because it just makes you want more. Like you're driven by so much more outside of yourself. And I've witnessed that in you and Jackson, where you're both just like, whatever it's looked like for you both in this season, there is no way that you're not going to achieve the vision that you've had for yourselves and your family. And I think you both in your own way, like you just know it's all taken care of and you are just here to do the work, and you do. And Jackson bloody grinds as well.
He does.
Man's out there, don't know what he's doing, but I think he's grinding or watching a golf video.
It could be one of the two.
I could still speak about so much, but I guess to wrap up today, I kind of want to talk about, you are quite a spiritual person, and since the day I've met you, like you've got tattoos about it, like everything happens for a reason. Do you believe that your path is just like, it's already laid out for you? It's kind of decided, it's just your job to go with it, or like what's your perspective around that?
I really do, because, and I think I constantly get reminded of it. And, you know, I'll use going back to acro last year as an example of like, for the last 6 years since I retired in 2019, I was constantly saying, before I have kids, I want to compete one more time. Before I have kids, I want to compete one more time. Like if I went back on my podcast, like how many times I would say that, and it just happened for me. Like it literally just worked. And then for me to go, and it maybe not that it wasn't the right thing, because I'm freaking so glad I did it. It was the best thing ever. But then the way that it worked for me to step out earlier, for then her to go back in, and then to fall pregnant, you know, like it just, I think the universe constantly reminds me that like whatever you want will happen. And even something I had to remind myself early days, even from America when I first fell pregnant, was I kept being like, this is meant to be hard for me. Like, why has it been so easy? And you know, people might experience the opposite, where it's like, it should be so easy. Why is it so hard for me? Whereas I was like, I've been told my whole life that falling pregnant is going to be hard, if not impossible. So why has it been so easy? So then going through the stages of pregnancy, especially that first 12 weeks where, you know, things are, I guess, a bit uncertain. It's like, well, that was so easy, then this should be hard. Like maybe I won't keep the pregnancy or whatever it was. And it still comes up to this day. Like last night I had a scare of like, he was a bit quiet and I'm like, oh, freaking out because you got to monitor their movements at this stage. But I had to keep reminding myself that I'm like, well, maybe it gets to be this easy. Like maybe I've prayed for this my whole life. I get to just have it because I've put in the work and this was always the goal. So why would I not be able to have it? And I think that's where like a lot of it comes in of like, well, there's so many people that are struggling or I should have been struggling, but you just can't bring everyone else's experiences into yours or vice versa. And you have to just take your path with how it is. And like, yeah, I think I unintentionally manifest a lot of things because deep down I'm like, well, it'll work out for me, but I also do the work. Like I'm spiritual in that sense of like, you know, it's going to work out. I'll manifest this and I want this. But then I'm like, well, I'm also doing the work to make that happen. So when it does happen, it's like, oh, well, not surprised because I'm like, I've written this in my journal for 12 months and I have been drinking the celery for 12 months or whatever the thing is. But it does kind of surprise me every time something does happen because I'm like, oh, wow, thanks, universe. Like, universe got my back. And I don't know where that's come from, to be honest. My mum is a very spiritual person. But I think it's just like showing up for yourself time and time again. And like, I don't stop until I get what I want. So I'm a little stubborn in that way.
Yeah, but it's amazing. I think that's where you are such a role model for this because you have belief, but you back it up with what you do. And that's probably the line for a lot of people where it's like manifestation, yes, it's so real, but it's a result of belief and action. And for yourself, it's funny to go like you've done all this work, you've anchored in so many really, I guess, like core beliefs of that it's always going to be easy. And I would say I'm quite similar where I'm like, yeah, like I will be a mum. Like there's no question about that. But how that happens is kind of where maybe the fear presents itself. So you're like, okay, I'm going to prepare for the worst case scenario because it's going to take X amount of time or it's not going to be easy. And then it's funny how it does happen easily and your brain goes, this was meant to be hard, so let's make it hard by putting so much fear in.
Yeah, and especially having medical professionals saying this won't happen for you or it will be hard. But I'm the same. Like I have known from day dot. Like I became an auntie when I was like 7. So my sister, like there's a big age gap. She had kids young. I've literally been around kids, you know, my whole life, and I'm just like, I know above everything else in this world, I'm going to be a mum.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, I had medical professionals telling me you will not fall pregnant or it will take you a really long time. So then you have this one core belief of like, I'm on this earth to be a mum, and then it might not happen for you. Like, where do you even sit in that? And I just guess I always come back to whatever's meant to be will be. I have it tattooed on me. Everything happens for a reason. And I got that tattoo the second I turned 18. And yeah, I think it's just like whatever's meant to be for you will be. But it doesn't take away that there are, you know, other thoughts that come in or like fears that do come in. But if you constantly work through them, you just dissolve them as you go.
Yeah. And it's like you're not your thoughts, but I mean, Christina, listen back to that. Listen back to that clip. But I guess for anyone listening, like to wrap it up, we can hear the dogs scratching on the door. They're like, Mum, it's time. What would you say to, 2 questions. What would you say to younger Tori in like the darkest days and in the fear and in, you know, just wondering like what life was going to look like for you or wondering what your conception journey was going to be or wondering if like you were ever going to make it out? Because I know
I didn't think I would.
Yeah, like, and again, like we can relate with those ones where you're just like, and I think a lot of people can, but not enough people speak about it, where you have times you're like, I don't think I'll make it through this one. Like I think, you know, that might be it.
Yeah, and then you do, and then you hit another rock, and then you're like, oh, I'm not going to make it through this one.
Yeah.
I find this really hard to answer because I look back on my journey and I am so proud of myself at getting through every single hardship that I have because it has not been easy. And I look to, you know, even other things along that path of the emotional abuse from my mum's ex. And like, that's like a whole thing that I've worked through now. My mum is still struggling to put it into words. But, you know, I look through not only what I've spoken to today, but there's so much more. And I constantly just showed up. And I think there was just something in me that was like, you will get what you want. But I think I would just say to her, like, everything you want will come, because she did do the work. And even on those nights where she's sitting on the balcony at 1 a.m. bawling her eyes out, wanting to end things, she still was just like, you've got something in you. And whether that was in acro or in life, in career, like I just constantly was like, no, there's more out there. And it's like I felt like I was on a really dark, long tunnel for so long, but there was just one sparkle at the end that I was just like, I'm going to get to that sparkle. And then you kind of get closer to it, and then your whole world opens up that you didn't even think possible. And I think just reminding her, like, you'll get there.
And like you'll get what you deserve, not what you want. Like you'll get what you actually deserve. Oh, you just made me cry. And then to the listener who just needs like that big sister advice when it comes to their body, advocating for themselves, their health, whether it is like their fertility journey or just like them, you know, being someone who is just willing to get the answers that they deserve, even if it's not from someone outside of them, like maybe for themselves or whatever it may be. Like, what are you telling her and like what does she need to hear?
I think put in the work to yourself and take the time to understand your body and understand your why. So if you're going through, whether it be acne, whether it be PCOS, endo, whether it be weight loss, weight gain, like anything you're going through in your journey, what is your why as to why you want to quote unquote fix this or take that path that you want? Because that's the only thing that's going to get you through, in my experience and opinion, is, you know, if you have such a strong why, and that's anything in life, like any goal that you have, like career, if you're in high rocks, like what's your why for doing this comp, you know? Because on those hard days, that will be the only thing that's going to get you through. And so I think if you can take that and put it on a bloody Post-it note across your house and just remember that there will be hard days, but you will get to the other side. Like I can guarantee it, but take the time to educate yourself, take the time to learn your body, because like I said, I know my body best because I've trial and errored so many different, you know, supplements, medications, workout styles, like, you know, really. Hello. Sounded like it was in my ear. Whether, you know, I've tried, what was I going to say?
Supplements.
Really high intense workouts are not for me.
Yeah.
My body does not work well under like high intensity stress. And I've learned that over time. And so I work around that. But if you can take the time to learn what your body does and doesn't like, because every single body is different. And I think growing up in a generation where it was like so much comparison to body types and like one body type fits all, and if we all just do the same thing that that person's doing, we'll look like them, will not happen. So I would really just say like do everything for yourself and learn to understand your body first and foremost.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like, sounds so cliche, but learn to love where you're at right now. Just knowing that if you give yourself that love and that compassion, it will just lead to like so much, because we are with ourselves for the rest of our life.
Yeah.
You know, like really the only person that we're with for the rest of our lives in forever, 1000% is ourselves.
Yeah.
Miss Tori's story.
Let's go for round 2. Yeah, anytime.
Restart the cameras. Thank you so much for sharing. If you guys, like I said, if you don't follow Tori, like go back, binge her content. If you're having a day where you're just like, I feel like I am the only person in the world feeling this way, or whatever it is that you're feeling, I'm sure you've got a vlog up there somewhere.
I was going to say, I definitely would have a YouTube
You've
on
got
it
something just saying, I'm there with you, you know? And yeah, you are just like a ray of light and just so real. And I just love that so much in you, in obviously a best friend, but like even before I knew.
Thanks,
you know.
girl. Love you.
So for anyone who might not know you, which is crazy to me, where can they find you? What's your vibe, your podcast? Tell us all the things.
Just Tori's Story on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube with a double T, because someone's taken it.
We did message her to get it, didn't we?
Yeah.
And
multiple
maybe
times.
pay.
Yeah, I said I'd pay for it. It didn't work. Yeah. And my podcast is Raw Reality.
Yeah.
And anything you want to hear is pretty much online from me. I don't really hide much, including what pull-out method I use.
Yeah, I love it. Or don't.
Yeah, or don't
Well,
use.
maybe the next time we'll speak, you'll have a baby boy here, but maybe not, maybe before that.
Yeah, anytime.
Oh, love you so much, Tori.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all for being here yet again for another week of Talk Therapy. Go follow Tori. Go subscribe to her YouTube. Go do all the things. She's absolutely killing it. And like I said, you'll never feel alone when you're consuming this one's content, which is just the best. So with that, love you so much. And I'll see you again in next week's episode.